So welcome everybody to the Customer Experience Workshop. As I've said, this is generally done in a live setting around a table with generally about 20 companies present. And I've worked over, and that's kind of the way that we've done it historically. Companies have paid up to $3,000 to be in that workshop. And what I've done over the last few days is I've worked on taking that and reformatting it for this format, if you will, through virtual. And it will be, it should be just as impactful. It should be just as valuable. It should be just as profitable for you. There's a workbook that goes with this. And so that's that. And then let's talk about how this is going to work. So this is going to be done in two parts. Originally, this was going to be a full afternoon. We were going to be on together for an entire afternoon. And then the team very wisely told me, no, let's break it up. That's too long. So what we're going to do today is we're going to lay the foundation. We're going to get your juices flowing. I know some of you are here with your teams. That is great. Is that group that has a whole bunch of people on? I think they are. Do we want to give them a shout out? Anyway, yeah, so you're muted.
Franzosos.
Yeah, are they?
Yes, we have a big group
There's
of
a whole bunch of them. Okay, good. Welcome everybody. So this is a good workshop for the entire team to work together. So this first part is laying the groundwork for the real work that's going to come next week. And so this session here is to get your mind prepared, to give you some action items to work on between now and the next time that we present this, or for part two, I should say. All right. So I think that's it. Again, ask questions, be engaged. We are here for you, and whatever we can do, we're here to do it. All right. So ultimate customer experience. I've been talking about this for years, right? You guys have heard me say this, and now, and I understand that you are a different group. You are a group that understands the importance of your customers and your relationships with your customers. Otherwise, you wouldn't pay us to do all the things that we do for you. And so you understand more than most the critical nature of customer experience, especially with what's going on now in 2020. Customer experience is going to be more important than ever before. Why? It's going to be important. So before, we would look at, so my next slide would be, the game of business has changed forever because of reviews, what's gone on online. That's one part of the equation. The other part of the equation is we need our customers now more than ever. Past customers, current customers, we need those relationships more than ever. And one of the best ways to develop customer relationship is not only by sending them cookies, it's not only by saying thank you, it's not only by sending them emails, but it's also about the experience you deliver to them from the minute they see you all the way through to the end of the project and beyond, and how you show up for that relationship. Because if we do this right, what's going to happen? Well, they're going to go online and they're going to talk about us. They're going to tell their friends about us, their neighbors about us, their friends about us, their coworkers about us, about, wow, you wouldn't believe this company. If you need to have fill in the blank done, this is the company to go with. And particularly right now, we're going to need our customers to help us kind of restart things, if you will. I know most of you are working. I know most of you are doing work and selling jobs, but some not at the level where you'd like to be. And so we want to make sure that going forward, that we stand out from the competition, that we have a great reputation in the marketplace, so that people are talking about us, and not only online, but again, to all their friends and family and neighbors and all of that. Customer experience is really one of the key and maybe even only real differentiators in the home improvement space. Think about it. If you do roofing, the reality of it is, look, it doesn't matter whose roof you have. Yeah, look, this group doesn't like that group that much, or the product, not the people, but the product that much. But everybody's loyal to the product that they have. But you know what? The reality of it is, to a customer, a shingle is a shingle is a shingle. It's just the company that's behind it is what's going to make a difference. And so the way you show up, the experience that that customer has, is really what the key differentiator is. The product is not a differentiator. Price is not a differentiator. This is not, you know, it's not a typical, it's not like a, you know, we don't sell iPhones. Oh, my background's, I'm holding up an iPhone. But you know what, should I just get rid of this background for now? Let me get rid of it. How do I change my background? Oops. Choose virtual background. Hold on. Let me get rid of my virtual background. There we go. All right, everybody saw. And this is the real background. This is what's going to make the difference. This is what's going to help you stand out from everybody else. And by the way, this is the thing they're going to remember more than they're going to remember the product, you know, and what the product has done and all of that. What they're going to remember is how you made them feel, how your people made them feel, what they experienced with you and your team. Okay, that's why this is so important. Customer experience, to me, is the ultimate marketing tool. Why is that? Well, because when you do this right, what happens? Your customers will go out and make leads for you. Your customers will go out and sell for you. That's the ultimate in marketing leverage. And so the base for all of that, the base of all of that, the foundation, if you will, is customer experience. Okay? Now, the customer experience leads to customer service focus. Customer service focus. A lot of times in this business, so it was interesting. A couple months back, I was at a dealer event, and I was at dinner, and one of the guys at the table is probably one of the smartest, arguably one of the most successful people in the home improvement industry, okay? This guy said something really interesting at the table, and he said that when we get together as a group, what we talk about are sales. How many sales did we make? What's your closing rate? What's your lead cost? What's your efficiency? What's your NSLI? We talk about facts and figures and numbers and math. And those things are important. But he said what we don't talk about is the customer. Now, I am sitting across from him. I know him very well. I've done quite a bit of work for him in the past. And I kind of like sheepishly raise my hand and I say, hey, you know, I've been talking about this for like the last 10 years. And I was happy that finally somebody was starting to get it. You know, I mean, you guys all get it. I know that. I don't mean any disrespect by that.
It didn't take them 10 years.
What?
It didn't take them 10
Well, it
years.
didn't take them 10 years, no. But most of the industry does not get this, what is the point. And so by you getting it, by you actually doing it and executing on it, because most people won't, okay? Most people won't. By you doing this and you executing, this is gonna put you so far ahead of your competition, it's not even funny, okay? And the key here is to be customer focused for not just you as the owner, but everybody on your team. So, you know, one of the reasons why I wanted to do this now is because there's an opportunity for a lot of you to have your teams be a part of this, where normally they wouldn't be. And so hopefully, those of you that have team members with you, you guys will be the ones that go and really implement this philosophy and this idea in your company. Because when you think about the customer first, when you think about the customer first, you have a different kind of business. Customer focused is very different than transaction focused, relationship focused. Transactional businesses work. And look, the way the economy has been, transactional businesses worked. But guess what? Between you and me, a lot of those companies, a lot of your competition, probably not going to be around in a couple months. I mean, I hate to say it, but the people that ignored this, unlike you guys, the people that ignored this, they're going to have a tough time during this. And it's going to be your job to implement this in your business and make sure that all of your customers are talking to everybody they know and driving leads back to you. So when we do this right, we get everything on the screen. We get more referrals. We get more repeat business. We can lower our lead costs. This is going to be important over the next few months. Sell at prices higher than the competition. One of the things that's going to happen, and I'm happy to have a private conversation with any one of you at any time about price, because price is one of the things that kills companies in this business. And right now, prices are going to have to be adjusted up, not down, up. I know it's crazy thinking, that it doesn't make any sense. Well, shouldn't we lower our prices so we could sell more jobs? No, your expenses are going to go up. You need to make sure your profit margin is going to cover that. And by the way, regardless of what the current economic environment is, you need to understand margins, gross margin and net margins. And again, I'm happy to have this conversation with anybody, any of you at any time, because most that I see that I run into aren't charging the right price. And by not charging the right price, you're not going to get the right margin and you're not going to make the right profit. The companies, by the way, that got this, many of you, I've talked to so many clients over the last few weeks. The ones that had their profit models right, they're just writing this out. They're writing this out. They got money in the bank. They had the right model in place. They put aside money and they can ride this out. They're stressed a little bit, but they're more anxious and excited about the opportunities on the other side than they are about, oh my God, we've had to do this and that and this loss and that loss. It puts you in a totally different place. Price. So again, I'm going to make, for the third time, I'm going to offer it again. I will speak to any one of you at any time about price. I am not squeamish about price, and I can help you overcome that if you are. Leads to more profitability, obviously. Resilience in an eventual downturn. 2020, things are going to go down a little bit. Hopefully not too bad, but down a little bit. And ultimately, this is about long-term success and wealth. Everything that we do here is all about our core value at G4 Marketing and the Wealthy Contractor is what, Addie?
Well, there's 4 of them.
No.
Are you talking about our purpose? Oh, okay.
Purpose.
Yes.
Sorry, not the value, the purpose.
Oh my gosh. You put me on the spot and I forgot.
Help home
Business owners achieve more success, wealth, and freedom.
More success, wealth, and freedom.
Yes.
That's all that we are about. That's all that we are about. Both companies have the exact same core purpose, right? Helping business owners achieve more success, wealth, and freedom, specifically home improvement business owners, because that's the only ones we work with. We don't work with anybody else, okay? And then the reality of this too is if you don't get this right, none of the rest of the stuff matters. Yeah, you can have low lead costs, but if you have crappy customer experience, ultimately your lead cost is going to go up. Your sales expense is going to be higher because you're going to sell less, right? So these things all work together. So that is, for many of you that know, my mentor is this dude, Dan Kennedy. By the way, for those of you that know Dan, he is back from the dead, believe it or not. 8 months ago, he went into hospice and looked like he was going to check out way too early. And by some miracle, he fought it. He's alive. He's well, and he's getting back to work. Pretty incredible. This guy is amazing. But here's what he said. Just about anybody can figure out how to sell things, but there's genius in creating customers for life. And while there's terrific income to be had from making sales, wealth is most certain by developing customers for life. And developing customers for life begins with a solid strategy of customer experience. So here is what we are going to accomplish. So we're going to look at differentiation. How are we going to set you apart from your competition? What are going to be your company standards? And I'm going to give you a wicked cheat sheet on this, like easy, okay? Then we are going to look at creating what I call an exceptionally memorable experience. And then you are going to go to work and implement the How We Wow company system into your business. Sound good? So as we go along here, part 1 and part 2, I want you to put aside any preconceived ideas about what a home improvement business could and couldn't do, should and shouldn't do, or be and not be. And I want you to think outside of the box. Think different. I love this campaign, obviously, the Apple Think Different campaign. We need to think different. And so I want you to just give yourself permission to not get stuck into thinking, well, but that's just how everybody does it, or that's just how we've done it here. Don't get stuck into that thinking. Start thinking outside of the box and get your team involved in this. There will be a replay available. So you could sit down with your team and go through this with them, and they will help you if you are stuck, okay? All right, so back to customer focus, all right? So this is the business, okay? They are the business. To me, marketing is everything that you do to create customers, keep customers, and multiply customers. Now, lots of people are all about create. Let's make new customers. Leads, leads, leads. And look, I'm all for it. I'm all for it. Get as many leads as you can, convert as many of them as you can into customers. But there's two more parts to this. There's the keep part and there's the multiply part. You want to get rich, you want to be wealthy, figure out keep and multiply. You can make a good living creating customers, but you're going to get rich by learning how to keep them and multiply them. And again, it's a new way of thinking. It's being customer focused. And again, many of you are already there. I'm just going to beat the point home. Hope that's okay. No disrespect, but I just want to beat this home. Because this is what this is all about your success, wealth, and freedom. And keeping and multiplying customers is what will help make that happen. So there's a lot of talk always about satisfied customers, We have satisfied customers, and we want you to be 100% satisfied. To me, a satisfied customer is a liability. It's a liability. You've heard me say this before, okay? Why are they a liability? Well, if you look at the range of, from, let's just say, on all the way on the left-hand side there, you have your pissed customer that hates you. All the way on the right, you have a raving fan, somebody that absolutely loves you and wants to go tell everybody about you. Where is the satisfied customer? The satisfied customer to me is this one right here. They're in the green. They're satisfied. You did what you said you were going to do. So they're satisfied. Well, guess what? Let me ask you this. How likely is a satisfied customer to go and leave a review for you online? Not very likely. How likely is a pissed customer to go leave a review online? Very likely. What about a raving fan? Very likely. Satisfied customers just satisfied. They did what they said they were going to do. Why should I go online, log into my Google account, go find their thing, sit there and write them a review? They did what they said they were going to do. Here's the other thing, even more dangerous. If your system, and make no mistake, right now, you have a customer experience system, okay? It may not be what you would consider a system, but it is a system, okay? And it may not be good, may not be bad, but it is a system. And if that system is set up to create a satisfied customer right here, how hard is it to create an unsatisfied customer? You only have to mess up that much, just a little bit. But if you have a system that's about creating raving fans and you mess up a little bit, more than likely, you probably have a system for fixing it quick, like it happened and you get on it right away. Or worst case scenario, your customer is thrilled, not satisfied, not a raving fan, somewhere in the middle. Let's say thrilled, mildly thrilled. That's a lot better than messing up a little bit and having an unsatisfied customer who will not refer you, who will not buy from you again, and who will not go online and write a good review for you. This is why, to me, a satisfied customer is a liability. And I'd get rid of that language from your office. From now on, all of the talk has to be about how do we create raving fans? How do we create raving fans? So that's the job today. It's about taking that ordinary customer and turning them into a raving fan. So now the question is, what does a raving fan look like? What does a raving fan look like? And so there are all kinds of examples out there of raving fans. There are, if you look at, we're going to look at some great companies to get ideas and to get inspiration. You guys are all over the country. You may have local companies that are amazing, that create raving fans. You may not. If you don't, there are other examples. There are other places that you can go and look. For anybody that's familiar with this company, In-N-Out, they have raving fans. Now, why is it? Why do they have raving fans? Is it because of the product? Product's good. I wouldn't say it's the most amazing product ever, but the experience, pretty amazing. And it is probably, now they're private companies, so this is guesswork on most people's part. They do more volume per store than a McDonald's. Their margins probably better than McDonald's. Their net profit probably better than a McDonald's. And their value, equity value, probably better than a McDonald's. Okay? Now, you can't own an In-N-Out burger. One person owns every single In-N-Out burger. Okay, she's like 37 or 38 years old. She's the heir from the Snyder family that started, if you know anything about In-N-Out. This is an amazing company to study, by the way. I always used, when we had the franchise company in Southern California, I always used them as an example of how to deliver an amazing experience to your customer. Because from the second you pull into their driveway, into the parking lot, sorry, from the second you come into their parking lot, it starts. And it's incredible. Clean like you wouldn't believe. Who else has this in common with them? Disney. Any great business, cleanliness will be top of list, will be way, way up there. Think about the best restaurants you go to, think about the best hotels you go to, think about the best resorts, vacations you go on. Think about bad airplane experiences. Probably a dirty airplane. It starts from there. These people, cleanliness is way, way up on their list. The people are incredible. The training program that they have is incredible. They're like Stepford children, the kids that work there. But they have a process. They have a system. They train. And if you don't fit, guess what? You do not serve a customer. They can't afford it. Can't afford to have a bad attitude in front of a customer. Now I can keep going on and on and on. But this is what makes raving fans. Because anybody that's been to an In-N-Out Burger knows when I walk in, regardless of which store I walk into, and I think they have like 400 of them, regardless of store, the place is going to be immaculate, clean. The people are going to be friendly, helpful, outgoing, motivated, excited. When you order, the food that's delivered to you is going to be just right every time. Just right every time. And if it's not, guess what? They're going to fix it instantly. That's how you create raving fans, and people go back over and over and over and over and over and over again. Now, you might be saying, yeah, well, that's a restaurant. We don't serve food. This is where the thinking different comes in. Because cleanliness, you have an office, you have a warehouse, you have vehicles, you have a job site. How important is cleanliness, right? By the way, the most successful businesses that I've walked into in this industry, in this business, their offices are clean, okay? The office is clean. The warehouse is clean, organized. I walked into one of our clients' warehouses, and this place was so like clean and like everything had its place. But there was one section, one little section, where there was some extra stuff there. And he said to me, "Oh, it's a mess right now, but we just got this shipment in." But he was apologizing, like telling me ahead of time, "Oh, you know." They're painfully aware, any business owner is painfully aware how important cleanliness is to how people act and treat other people. Okay. So, raving fans. How do we create raving fans? So we just talked about a whole host of things that we can do to create raving fans. But as we go throughout this week and next, or part 1 and part 2, we are going to uncover ways that you can create raving fans in your business. Okay. Oops. So one of the things that everybody has to buy into. So if you work at In-N-Out Burger, Disney, Ritz-Carlton, Zappos, these are some of the companies we're going to be talking about throughout this workshop. Every person in the company has this in common. They love their customers. They appreciate their customer. And a lot of times, look, I'm just as guilty as the next guy of not always having that squarely in my head when I make every single decision. I am much better at it now than ever. Part of the reason is because of my business partner, whichever side she's on. Because this is something from the very beginning, when we designed the type of business that we wanted to have, and make no mistake, we designed this thing almost 11 years ago to be what it is. This was our thing. Every single person that works here understands that me and Addie love our customers. And if they don't love our customers and they don't treat them the way that we want them treated, they don't last long here. Okay? So this is something that every single person in your company has to feel. Because that's how they are going to do their part in this whole process. Because every single person in your company has a part to play, whether they are customer facing or not. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, none of us have a business without a customer, which means none of us have a job without first having a customer. And so I don't care who it is. I don't care if it's a person sweeping up the warehouse in the middle of the night when everyone else is gone. That person has to be grateful and love the customers that give their money and their trust and their confidence to that business, because that's how they are able to do their job. And so their thinking has to be, when those people show up here tomorrow morning, I need to make sure this place is spotless clean so that they can do their job, which is go serve the customer. Nobody in this is exempt. Nobody. And the minute you exempt people from this, that's when you don't have a raving fan system. And by the way, this is not that hard to do. Okay, this, I hear myself sometimes, and it almost sounds like, oh my, I can hear your voices. Okay, just because I've been around it for so long. Okay, and I've grown up in this. I've been doing this for 30 years, like a lot of you. I hear your voices in the back of my head. Well, yeah, that's easy enough to be said for somebody like that or for somebody like that. No, it starts with you, the owner. You love your customers. You make sure that you show everybody how much you love your customers, and do the things, take the actions that prove to everybody how much you love your customer. That's how you build that, or that's how you build this. And you make sure that if anybody is not playing by this, you get rid of them. Because you know what? They may not be a cancer today, but guess what? They're festering. It starts with a seed. It starts with just a little seed. It's like, oh no, they won't notice that. Oh no, why are we going to do that? Well, why do I have to work so, I got to get out of here. Why do I have to work so hard? Starts with a seed. And the seed becomes bigger, it multiplies, it grows, it infects other people, and pretty soon you have a cancer in your business that's now it's hard to fix. Okay. So, raving fans. One of the things that every great company does to create raving fans is it gives their customers a story to tell. A story to tell. So this is something I want you guys to write down in your notes. And I want you to ask yourselves, what is the story we give our customer to tell? What is the story we give our customer to tell? And so you could think about great businesses, okay? So like, let's give an example of In-N-Out Burger, okay? I don't know how many times I've used them as an example. They have they have been imprinted in my brain. Why? Because they gave me a story to tell. You want to be forgettable? Don't give them a story. You want to be remembered in a really bad way? Give them a bad story to tell. But this is about giving them a story to go and tell, to brag to their friends. Oh my God, I hired this company to redo my roof. And you would think that roofing was going to be a mess and it was going to be a bunch of this and a bunch of that. You would not believe how professional these people were. You wouldn't believe how clean they were. You wouldn't believe how fast they were. You wouldn't believe, fill in the blank. If you're not giving them a story to tell, and notice the words that I used, you are giving them the story. Think about Walt Disney. Think about Walt Disney. How did Walt build Disneyland? Okay, so He didn't create the amusement park. Okay, and we're going to talk more about Disney in a few minutes. He didn't create the amusement park. He just improved on it. Now, he had a platform. His platform was TV, movies, okay? So that's your advertising, right? So he used his show on, I think it was on Sunday nights, he used his Disney show to show people Disneyland, get them excited, get them to Disneyland. Once they got to Disneyland, what did he do? He didn't give them one story to tell, he gave them 8 stories to tell. And what did those people do? In the 1950s and the 1960s and the 1970s, 80s, 90s, this century, what do they do better than anybody else? They gave everybody a story to tell when they got home, especially back in the early days. You wouldn't believe how clean the place was. Notice I've used that quite a few times, okay? You wouldn't believe how helpful everybody was. You wouldn't believe how this it was. You wouldn't believe how that it was. That's all choreographed. There's nobody better, I think, to this day. There's no one better than Walt Disney at this, of giving people a story to tell. He counted on this. People went home. Think about this. People went home and had parties in their house, brought people in and showed them all of their pictures from Disney. Oh, look at this. We did this and that and this. Oh, look at this. We did that and this and that. And what were they doing? They were selling people on Disneyland. Because the people that are looking at those pictures are like, damn, I want to go. So what is the story that you are giving your customer to tell? Big piece of how to create raving fans. 2, stand out. How do you stand out from everyone else? Now, hear me when I say this. You are not competing against other contractors. You are not competing against other contractors. Why? Well, first off, because that's easy. Most of them suck. Who you're really competing against is anybody and everybody they've ever done business with in the past, and anybody and everybody they're going to do business with in the future. There's a short list. Think about this. And I want you, this would be a good exercise too. Stand out on one of the note pages and make a list of the companies that you've done business with that you actually remember. That you actually remember. And my bet is it's a very short list. Probably less than 10. Most cases, probably less than 5. You have to be one of those companies. You're competing against the vacation they took on Princess Cruises. You're competing against the BMW or the Mercedes dealer or the Toyota dealer or the Honda dealer that they went and did business with. You're competing against a local restaurant. You're competing against Nordstrom. You're competing against Saks, wherever your people shop. That's who you're competing against. So you have to do everything you can to stand out so that you are up on their list of companies that they have a story to tell about and companies that they actually like, remember, and have a good experience with. So some of you know, if you've been to Accelerate, you met Charlie Gindel, who is RBA of Orange County. And he used to be Dial 1 Windows. And years ago, I think during the last recession, he introduced the red carpet experience. Still uses it to this day. Still uses it to this day. They actually have red carpets that they roll out when they get to a job. So on the porch, if they're going in and out of the house, they're going to put red carpets. If they're going through the house, they're putting red carpets down. The red carpet experience. Do you think that his customers remember that? Do you think his customers go and tell other people about this? By the way, very few people that I have told this story to, and again, no disrespect to anybody that's on this, but I have told this exact thing and shown people this, hundreds of people, this exact strategy. You know how many people I know of that actually executed on this strategy? Not many. Not many. I know of one I can think of off the top of my head that actually picked up on this and made it a part of their business. Now, I'm going to tell you a story about this. So when Charlie first introduced this, I want to say it was, Addie, I don't know if you remember when it was. It was like 2010, 2011, I think, was when he introduced this.
Shortly after he became a client.
So Charlie is in Laguna Hills. That's where his office is. Or I don't know if they're still in Laguna Hills. Anyway, Laguna Hills in Southern California. And then down the road on the other side of the hill, you go down to the ocean and there's a Ritz-Carlton, a beautiful Ritz-Carlton in Laguna Niguel, or Laguna Beach. And one day he tells his entire team to go to the office on a Saturday morning. They show up, no Charlie, but there are buses there. And everybody gets onto the buses. They don't know where they're going. They just know they're going to meet Charlie. Charlie takes them in buses, drives them over the hill down to the Ritz-Carlton in Laguna. When they got off of the buses, what is down on the ground when they get off? Red carpets. They follow the red carpets into a meeting room where Charlie introduces them to this program, the red carpet experience. Now, what's really incredible about this story, and anybody that knows Charlie knows, yeah, that sounds like something Charlie would do, because Charlie's not half-assed about anything, and he knows human behavior. And Charlie's serious. When he does something and he knows it's going to make his business better and his customer is going to be treated better and he's going to make more money, believe me, he's serious about it. Loaded the people up. They go into the room and he lays this out for them. Why did he do this? Because any other regular person would have just said, hey, we're going to do this whole red carpet experience now. I bought you some red carpets. When you go out to the jobs, I want you to roll them out. And then that's going to be our red carpet experience, and tell everybody, you know, this is your red carpet experience. That's one way of doing it. That way, most people will probably say, well, I don't want to carry carpets around in my truck, and man, what is this guy talking about, red carpet? We're just there to install windows. What do we care? It's the door.
I'm going.
Okay. And so he actually said, you know what? The only way I'm going to get my team behind this is if they experience it themselves. And so, why are you laughing at me? Oh, because of my makeshift stand-up. You guys should see this. I'm so tired of sitting down. It's like that's all I do is sit down. So I made a makeshift, moved my monitor up thing. Anyway, so he knew that the only way he was going to get them to actually like do this for their customers was if they felt it themselves, right? Because you do it the other way, what was going to happen? If Charlie just said, hey guys, here's red carpets, throw them in the back of the trucks, guess what? They were going to come back at the end of the day, and Charlie's going to look in their trucks and say, oh, hey, what happened to the red carpet? And the guys are going to be like, oh, Charlie, you wouldn't believe it. We're driving down the freeway and they just flew out the back. Right? Because they didn't care. They weren't invested in it. They didn't understand why it was being done. So all of this stuff, you got to take this stuff serious and really, make it happen. So what we are going to be looking at as we build out the customer experience, and remember, this part one is foundational. It's just to start getting you thinking. And then in part two, we're going to start building this out. So what we want to be thinking about here is when thinking about the customer experience, you're looking at from the first moment that somebody crosses paths with your company through job completion and beyond. What you want to be thinking about is how do we design and execute what I call, you can call it whatever you want, an exceptionally memorable experience. An exceptionally memorable experience. So we all know that in home improvement, there are 4 major touch points, if you will. There is phone calls, whether they're inbound or out. There is the in-home presentation. There is the installation. Sometimes in between, there's like a measure call for some of you. And then there's post-project. These are your 4 kind of major touch points with your customers. And so you want to be thinking about every interaction that your customer is going to have with your business when you are designing your customer experience. At Disney, and like on Broadway and movies and stuff, they talk about front stage and backstage. Front stage is the performance. And make no mistake, when you are generating leads, whether you're doing home shows, if you're doing face-to-face home shows, events, canvassing, you guys, your people are on stage. When the phone rings from a TV commercial or an ad or the internet, your people are on stage. When your salespeople are going out to meet with homeowners or doing it via Zoom like this, they are on stage. And everything matters. Every detail needs to be looked at. Disney, as an example, when it comes to the performance, they leave nothing to chance. They think everything through. Backstage is everything that supports the performance. Everything that supports the performance. Some people in your business are not seen. They are not heard, but they support the performance. For example, HR people, maybe finance, bookkeeping. Those people aren't necessarily on stage, but they are part of the backstage team. Everybody needs to know their role. You have to ask yourself at this interaction point, how are we making our customers feel? How are we making our customers feel? At Disney, they call them magic moments versus tragic moments. Are you creating magic moments or are you creating tragic moments? Are you paying attention to the details? Details matter. Details are important. When you go to a hotel, and I'm going to bring up cleanliness again, because cleanliness will tell you so much about your business. I could come to your business and I could look around and I can tell from the level of cleanliness of your business whether you're making money or not making money, whether you're providing a good experience for a customer or not providing a good experience for your customer. Could tell. And by the way, you can do the same thing to me or the 10 other businesses that you frequent. Details matter. And then ultimately, we want to create wows. We want to create wows. The question that I want you to be asking as you go through this process is, at this interaction with a customer, what are we doing to get them to say, wow? What are we doing to get them to say, wow? Said another way, how do we leave them with the impression of wow? Okay? As we go through this, that's what I want you to be thinking about. So a lot of you know, I'm not an inventor. Sorry, I am not an inventor. I would like to think I'm more innovator. I want to take what's working in other places and I want to adapt those things and I want to learn those things and put them into my business. And so you can do the same. And it's the same thing, by the way, with modeling successful people. Go see what other successful people are doing, because success leaves clues, and go model that behavior. And so it's the same thing here. Don't try and recreate this all on your own. Don't try and reinvent the whole thing on your own. Take bits and pieces from places that are already doing it right and adapt that for your purposes, for your business. Now, we here at G4, we take a little bit from all of these companies. When we do events, we look at Ritz-Carlton and we say, how do we put on an event like a Ritz-Carlton would put on an event? How do we make sure our people act the way that the Ritz-Carlton people would act when their guests come to them? Because when we put on an event, when the people come in, we had over 200 people at Accelerate in February. Every single person was our guest, okay? They weren't just an attendee of a workshop or a seminar. They were our guest. And so how did we make them feel when they came in? And so we look at Ritz-Carlton. We look at Disney. We look at Nordstrom. In the business here, we never argue with clients. It is our number one rule. We tell every single person here, and people have been fired for arguing with a client. It is not accepted behavior. Okay? Because Zappos, they don't argue with clients. Their goal at Zappos is do whatever it takes to make that customer happy. Whatever it takes. That's the rule we follow. Okay? You could do the same. So let's look at a few of these companies and some of the things that you might be able to get from modeling some of these companies. Okay? So of course, number one in my book, Walt Disney. Walt Disney had his law of unlimited abundance. Check this out. Do what you do so well that when people see you do it, they want to see you do it again. What is that? It's It's repeat business, right? How many times have a lot of you been to Disneyland? Most people don't go to Disneyland or Disney World one time. Most people go back multiple times. Okay, so check. He accomplished that. So they want to see you do it again and will bring others to see you do it. What is that? That's referrals. That's going and spreading the word. That's selling your company, your service, your people, your product to people that they know. By the way, what's really interesting about this is, what are those two things about? What did I say earlier? To me, marketing is about creating, keeping, multiplying, right? Most people are all about creating. They're not thinking of, they're thinking very little about keeping and multiplying. But what is, they want to see you do it again? Where does that fall? That's not creating customers, that's keeping customers. And will bring others to see you do it. What's that? That's multiplying customers, isn't it? So when you look at something, so when you look at Disney, okay, so we've talked about the cleanliness. We've talked about the people. Now, usually in the live workshop, there's a video that I show of Disney behind the scenes. And you can go and you can get books on Disney and read about Disney. But I'll give you a few important things about what makes Disney amazing. So when Disney hires people, they have to go through a program called Traditions. And Traditions is they in the video they lay out all of the things. I mean, it's incredible what they do inside of Traditions. But basically, Traditions is indoctrinating them into the Disney culture. They actually learn about characters. You can't work at Disneyland. I don't think you could work at Disney, period, if you don't know who the 7 dwarfs are. They talk about, what was interesting too is like when they train people. So they have Traditions, they bring them in, they indoctrinate them. Okay? And they have to pass. Right? There's pass or fail. You have to pass. They want them, there's a line in there that's amazing. It's like, Walt's dead. But they want those people, when they leave Traditions, they want the people to feel like they're in partnership with Walt Disney, who's dead, okay? That's how incredible this thing is. They want those people to believe that they are in partnership with Walt Disney. And these were Walt Disney's rules. This is what he believed. This is what was important to him. This is what's important to all of us at Disneyland. The rides. So they take us behind the scenes of the Jungle Cruise, and they show how they train a new driver, or whatever they call the captain of the boat, how they train for that position. There's a book, a script book that they follow. And by the way, there are acceptable ad libs, meaning you can't make shit up. This is what's allowed. This is what's allowed. If you need to go off script, this is what's allowed. You're allowed to go here, here, here. What's also interesting is that they don't only teach them about how to drive the boat and how to fire the fake gun, but they teach them how to act, how to bring people, the people that are in the boat, which are, it's constantly changing. Every few minutes, it's a new boat, a new people. And they got to be on every single time. And so they train and they train and they train some more and they train and they train and they watch and they listen to make sure the training's stuck. Are you doing that? How can you do that in your business? Do you know what people are doing out in the field? Do you know how your salespeople are acting during sales presentations? By the way, the other thing that's really interesting, and when things open up, hopefully next month, when things open up again, plan a trip to Disney World. Go to Disney World one day, go to Universal Studios the next. Okay, this is a field trip. It's a tax write-off because it's a field trip. You're doing this for business education. Go and look at the differences. Go and look at the differences. I'll tell you a few. One, there's trash in the trash cans at Universal, not at Disney. Why? Because they clean out the trash cans before they get overflowed. Two, at Universal, there's gum in the streets, not at Disney. Three, the uniforms, or as Disney calls them, costumes of all of their people fit. Think about that one for a minute. The costume fits. Go to Universal, people look dumpy. By the way, Universal, you know what's allowed? Piercings, beards. Disney? Nope. Details. Details. Okay? So I think I beat up Disney enough. Anything else, Addie, with Disney?
No.
All right. Phone. The phone. Phone is not going anywhere in the home improvement business. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise, okay? You're still gonna be using the phone. Technology is great, but it ain't replacing talking to human beings on the phone. A great company to model when it comes to phones is Zappos. Now, I will say this about Zappos. When you study them, look more for the attitude rather than the actual practical application. Because in your case, everything needs to be scripted. Just like the ride at Disney, your phone conversations need to be more scripted. Zappos has no script, none, zero. So if you called Zappos today and you get somebody on the phone, which by the way, they're one of the only retailers that on their website, on every single page, is right up at the top their phone number. Because Tony wants you calling, because he knows if you call, that is going to make an amazing impression on you. How do I know this? Because I called them. Okay, I had to call them once or twice, and they are unbelievable on the phone. So I would say to you, call them and say this. Say this. I'm looking for a pair of shoes. So now most businesses, if they gave you the phone number, if I was to call and say I'm looking for a pair of shoes to a shoe retailer that has an online presence, that only sells shoes online, what would they say to me? Well, our website has like 1 million shoes on it. Why don't you go look there? Not at Zappos. That's not what they do. You know why? Because that is not an amazing customer experience. You know what Zappos will do? They'll ask you what kind of shoe you're looking for, and they will help you find your shoe. They will stay on the phone with you all day if they have to. All day. All day. Doesn't matter. It's all about the customer. They're amazing on the phone. So if you want to learn a little bit about, so the interesting thing about the phone is that what you are feeling inside comes across on the phone. So if like you're not smart, so one of the things they tell people all the time that are working in a phone environment is to put up a mirror in front of you and just make sure you're smiling when you're on the phone because it makes a difference. Now, most people won't do this, okay? But at Zappos, when you call them, you think that they were just laughing their asses off at some joke when they pick up the phone to talk to you. They're just happy. They're in a good mood. It's their job because they're dealing with customers. It's amazing. So go check it out. Okay, it's a good company to model. The attitude. Again, in home improvement, we're going to talk about this when we start to build your process, when we build the customer experience system, but you need scripting. This business does not work without scripting. Okay, let me make sure I make that clear. The last company we're going to look at is the Ritz-Carlton. And for you guys, the place I think that you should look to the Ritz-Carlton to draw inspiration is with your installers who are actually out in the field face to face with your customers. Those people, and with a lot of you, they're subs. They're not your people necessarily. But they aren't given any type of system, training, scripting, nothing. It's just, here's the job, go get it done. Those people spend more time with your customer potentially than anybody else in your organization. Those people have so much more impact on the customer experience than just about any other group in your business. And yet they are the ones that are generally the ones that are just given, hey, just go get this done. Mistake, big mistake. And so Ritz-Carlton is really an interesting company to study. So the Ritz-Carlton has this thing. We are ladies and gentlemen serving ladies and gentlemen. By the way, I gave you in your workbooks, I gave you a whole packet of stuff on the Ritz-Carlton. But we are ladies and gentlemen serving ladies and gentlemen. And the thing I always ask people to think about is, who are your installers? And so here's what I mean by that. Are they homeowners themselves? A lot of them probably aren't. A lot of them are laborers. And they have in their mind this laborer mentality. Like, you know, oh, those are them and this is us, an us and them thing, which by the way is something probably, I don't know about you, some of you probably grew up with that. I did. You know, rich people were them and then there was us, right? And that creates some messed up stuff in your head. And it's can come across as not ideal when they're in a customer facing environment. And so you want to be really, you really want to think about how you make them feel about the customer. So for example, why I love this at the Ritz-Carlton is it doesn't matter who you are at the Ritz-Carlton. It doesn't matter if you are the general manager that probably makes a few $100,000 a year, or if you're the dishwasher in the bowels of the hotel that never ever sees a customer. You're equal. Why? Because we all have the same job. We are ladies and gentlemen ourselves serving ladies and gentlemen. We're on an equal playing field. They're not better than you. You're not better than them. We're equal. But today, our jobs are to serve them and to make sure we serve them better than anybody else has ever served them. So another thing that's really cool about the Ritz-Carlton is they have this thing called the $2,000 rule. So basically what this is they, any employee at the Ritz-Carlton, okay, can fix or solve a guest's problem. They can spend up to $2,000 a day to solve that guest's problem without asking anybody's permission. So my question to you guys is, well, if your people are out on a job site and a problem comes up, are they empowered to solve that problem? Or are there hoops that they have to jump through in order to solve the problem? And if there are hoops to jump through, is the customer aware of this? Is the customer on pins and needles of whether or not this is going to get taken care of or not? Or does the customer understand whatever happens, our staff is empowered to make a decision and make it right? I think this is super powerful, super powerful. And I don't think it really exists in this industry. I think it's, if there's a problem, it's like, well, let me go talk to the supervisor. Let me call him. Then I got to call the supervisor, and then the supervisor come and look at it, and then this, and then that. And it's like, you know, 2 hours has gone by. Well, what in that whole 2 hours, do you think the customers had a good experience? Or is it better to just say, you know what, we noticed this over here, but don't worry about it. It's taken care of. You don't have to pay anything more for it. One of the things I recommended to somebody once, and I don't know if anybody has taken me up on this or not, but I would create a raving fan fund. And I would take 3/4 of a point or 1 point off every single job, and I would put it into a raving fan fund. Pretty soon you'll have some money there. And if anything comes up that is problematic, that normally would have cost, you'd have to go to the customer and say, oh, I need $400 to do this, or blah, blah, whatever, or a customer's upset, you need to make it right. You just go to your raving fan fund, pull it out of there, and go make it right. Okay, something to think about. So in your workbook, I gave you from the Ritz-Carlton their standards, the credo, the motto, the gold standards, the employee promise, the basics, and the $2,000 rule. What's cool about this, the way that I've given it to you, is you could almost like literally take this and just move a few words around, and you've got this for your company. So you could have a motto, you could have a credo, you can have a promise, an employee promise, and then here are the basics. You know, the 3 steps of service, the third one down on the left, the 3 steps of service are the foundation of XYZ Roofing's service, or hospitality. You can even use the word hospitality, right? These steps must be used in every interaction to ensure satisfaction, retention, and loyalty. All you have to do is define what your 3 steps of service are, and just change out Ritz-Carlton with your company name, and there you go. You have a basic, you have a standard, right? And you can do this, you know, through every single one of these. Okay, look at this one. Be an ambassador of your roofing company in and outside of the workplace. Always talk positively, no negative comments, right? Every single one of these fits with little adaptation into your business, okay? I build strong relationship and create XYZ Roofing guests for life, customers for life. I am always responsive to the expressed and unexpressed wishes and needs of our customers. I am empowered to create unique, memorable, and personal experience for our customers. So go through this with your team, pick some. You don't need every single one. Come up with 10 of them. And then put these up on the walls. Train people on this. Make it part of your company culture. Bring people in. Get their buy-in. All right, so we're just about at the end of part 1. Inside of your workbook is this worksheet. Actually, it should be in there. Shoot, oh, I might not have put that in there, but I might not have. Anyway, what we are going to do next week is we're going to take, now that we've kind of got the foundation, I've got you thinking about the customer experience. Now I want you to look at, over the next few days, I want you to, oh, thank you, Tina. Yeah. It's in there. Perfect. So what I want you to look at is these are this is basically the customer's journey in a home improvement company. Okay, now yours might be a little different here, there, whatever. Just add in whatever is different. And it's broken up into 3 units, if you will: the before unit, the during unit, and the after unit. So when we look at the before unit, look at, over the next few days, look at what you are doing now during lead gen activities right now, or, especially like face-to-face lead gen is not happening. But you can think about it and you can write what's working. What are we doing well? And then you can look at what's not working in the whole system. So how is our phones handled when there's an inbound call? What happens when we set an appointment? What does the in-home demo look like? Okay, and the way to, by the way, the line here before and during, the line is when they become a customer. So they move into during when you've sold the job and they become a customer. And so look at also the during process. What happens when you sell the job? You'll notice a long block here for wait time. I did that purposely visually because generally that is a long cycle. Long meaning not tomorrow, meaning it could be 2 weeks from now, it could be 6 weeks from now, it could be 10 weeks from now. What are you doing during that time? And what about the install process? Again, write down, get with your teams, what's working, what's not working. Now, a lot of you have the after unit because you're a client of G4 Marketing. We do a lot of that for you, but still look at it. Make sure that it is working. Make sure that jobs are being marked completed, let's say, so that they get to G4, so that G4 can execute on the reviews and the appreciation and all of that stuff. Okay, what are the other things that you do in between what we're doing for you? Okay, so get with your teams, look at this, what's working, what's not, and then in part 2, we're going to take each of these units and we're going to start to fill in how we are going to make improvements. What are we going to do in each of these sections to improve on the process? Then I'm going to show you a tool for building this out into a system that you can then, teach your people and implement into your company. All right, everybody. So welcome to part 2 of the Ultimate Customer Experience Workshop. What I wanted to do here is just talk a little bit about some of the things that we covered last time in part 1. Part 1 really was all about setting us up for the real work, which is what we're going to be doing here today. We're going to be looking at the before section of the workflow, the customer journey, if you will. We're going to be looking at the during piece, and we're going to be looking at the after piece. Now, a lot of the after piece, we're not going to spend a whole lot of time on that because a lot of you are, well, all of you are G4 clients, and we do a lot of that for you, but there are still a couple of things there that we can work on. In the first part of this, we had talked about the idea of creating raving fans, that a satisfied customer is a liability. And the reason I say that is because of the system that is set up or not set up. So there's a system for creating satisfied customers, which is what a lot of companies have right now. The problem with that is let me see if I can go back to that slide for you. Okay, so the problem with that is, so if you look at a satisfied customer versus a raving fan, so all the way on the right-hand side of this gauge, if you will, you've got the raving fan. All the way on the other side of it, on the left side of it, you've got the pissed customer. And in the green section, right about here, you've got the satisfied customer. What's a satisfied customer? Satisfied customer is somebody you did what you said you were going to do. You followed through. You did what was on the contract. The problem with that is, A, do satisfied customers go and leave reviews? Are they excited about going and leaving reviews? Not really. You know, they were satisfied. You did what you said you were going to do. You left, right? Are they excited about giving you referrals? Are they excited about coming back and doing more work with you? Not really. The other side of this, and this is where kind of the danger comes in, is if you mess up just a little bit, just a little, where does that get you? Gets you over here. And so if the system is set up to create a satisfied customer, to me, again, it's a liability because of all of the reasons. Now, if you look at the raving fan, if you have a system set up to create raving fans, are raving fans more likely or less likely to go and leave you a review online, regardless of the work it takes? They're more likely. Are they more likely or less likely to go and leave or to make referrals? Right? They're more likely. Are they more likely to come back and buy from you again? Yes, they're more likely. And so on the practical side of it, it's going to help you make more money. On the other side of it is, let's say that you don't give them the perfect raving fan experience. And let's say you mess up just a little bit. Well, two things there. One, you probably have a great system for dealing with it. You probably have a great system for dealing with probably has something to do with empowerment, empowering your teams, the people that are on the ground, the people that are working face-to-face with that customer, to be able to solve the problem, to make that customer happy, regardless of what it takes. And so even if you mess up a little bit, that still puts you way above satisfied. That still keeps you above satisfied. So that's why when we look at what we are doing here, we are really focused on is how do we make a customer so excited about what we did for them that they go and market and sell for us through reviews, referrals, positive word of mouth, and ultimately coming back and buying more from us. So we talked a little bit about how do you create raving fans. Well, first off, it's got to start with everybody in the organization saying, hey, we love our customers. We appreciate our customers. We understand that the customer is the most important person in our business. Somebody emailed me after part one and asked me, well, what if people are not buying into this? What if they have, these thoughts, well, some customers are crazy. Some people you just aren't going to satisfy. That may be true. That may be true. The bigger question here is, and their question was, well, how do we get them to come over to our side? And I said, my answer was two things. One is accountability. Do you have a system set up for accountability? Meaning that, hey, look, as a company, our goal is raving fans. Here is how we measure that. And here is who is accountable to that. And hold those people accountable. Number one, I mentioned to that person that we use the EOS system, the entrepreneurial operating system here. And so if somebody doesn't follow this number one rule of we love our customers, it's going to show up in accountability. The second part of that is, are they a right fit for your company's core values? one of our core values here is this. It's all about the customer, right? And our core purpose, even bigger than that, is about the customer, not about us. It's about the customer. And so if anybody doesn't fit into that, they're just not going to last here. And so then we'll bring on somebody that does fit. And that was my response back to them. Not easy, but it's the right thing to do. You can't have, if you have one person that's not on the team here, even, we were talking about the person that doesn't even deal with customers. The person, let's say, take the accounting person that works way in the back of the office, all by themselves in their little cubicle. Well, if that person is not on board with this, and let's say they're really, really good at their job, but they're not on board with this. To them, customers are nothing but a nuisance and a pain in the ass. Just because they are in the back all by themselves does not mean that they can't infect the company. Doesn't mean they can't be a cancer that starts to grow inside of the organization. Because all they need to do is when they're in the break room, or they're on their way to the bathroom, or they're at the water cooler talking with somebody else, all they have to do is start to spout off. And guess what? Now they've just spread that infection to somebody else. Right? So everybody in the organization's got to be on board with this. And if not, you might want to be thinking about new people. Okay? All right. So as we go through here today, keep a couple of things in mind. One is that in order for people to become raving fans, in order for them to go and leave reviews, in order for them to become good referral sources for you, you've got to give them a story to tell others. You've got to give them a story to tell others. And you've got to stand out from the competition. Remember, the goal here is not for you to be better than the next contractor. That's easy. The goal here is, how do you stand out from anybody and everybody that they've ever done business with, including that resort where Addie is hanging out on the beach, right? That resort may have been the most amazing place they've ever been, with the most amazing service that they ever got, with the most amazing food that they've ever eaten. And they remember that place. It is stuck in their consciousness. You're competing against that, because you want to be up there with that. Any business that they've done business with, that is who you're competing with to get that mind share, okay? Because that mind share is what's going to help you make more money. And so when we look at the customer journey, when we look at creating the customer experience, we're looking at from the very first interaction. And in a lot of cases, that's a phone call. In some cases, that may be through canvassing or through home shows. But whatever that first experience is with your company, all the way through to the end of the project, and then beyond. The question is, at each interaction point, and these are the major ones, how do we get our customer to say, wow? How do we get our customer to say, wow? Okay? So we talked a little bit about modeling. Disney was the best at this. We talked about Zappos and the phone, and we talked about the Ritz-Carlton face-to-face when your people are out in the field. And then in your workbooks, you've got all of this stuff. The language in this stuff is amazing. All you have to do is just move a few words around, and you've got a credo, you'll have a motto, you'll have a promise, and you'll have a bunch of company basics that you could start with, I'm a big believer in modeling. You know, I don't want to be an inventor. I want to go see what works, and I want to adapt it and use it in my business. And those are all companies that we model from here. All right, so the homework between part 1 and part 2 was to look at this workflow, which is in your workbook, and look at each of the different sections of the customer experience and ask yourself, what's working here and what's not working here? Because when you have an idea there of what's working and what's not, the next part of this is going to become a little bit easier. Now, we're going to walk through this. I'm going to give you some suggestions on each of these sections. But ultimately, this is going to be up to you to build out for your business. And this is a great exercise to get your team involved with. We're recording this, just so everybody knows, just to give it a little context, we're actually recording this in April of 2020. Little different environment that we're all under in April of 2020. The principles here are not going to change, but in April of 2020, many of you had time on your hands. And so this is a very good time for you guys to stop, bring your team together, and work on these exercises, and then work on implementing them in the business. All right, so hopefully you've got this done. I would suggest to you, if you have not done this, if you haven't sat down and thought through as the customer of your business, and kind of walk through each of these different areas of the business, I would say to you, pause right now, go do this exercise first, and then come back and join us for the next part. Okay? That's more for the people on the recording than it is for the people that are live. All right. So again, from first call through job completion. So we're going to start with the before unit, if you will. All right. And remember, the question that we are asking ourselves is, what can we do here at this interaction point so our customers can't help but say, wow? And what we're going to do here in this column, that first column, is you're just going to write ideas. You're just going to write down ideas. As we go through some of this, you're going to write down some ideas. And then those ideas that you like, you're going to write down what the best first action is. What is the best thing that we could do here first? And then we're going to give it to somebody to be responsible for. So this is how this is going to break down. So the column on the left is your place for ideas. The column in the middle is where you're going to come up with what are the best first actions that we are going to take. And then the last column is who's going to help make this happen, who's going to be responsible and accountable for making this happen. All right, so what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to quickly walk through the before unit with you. And then we have to answer this important question before we start building over here. Okay, the question here is, what does our customer really want here? Okay, and I have some notes. Okay, so I'm going to help along this, but this is a good place for you guys to really think about, what is it that your customer or prospect wants here? All right, so let's talk about the process. So the first piece we have is lead capture. Lead capture. So this is to take notes, the lead capture portion is really for those people that are doing any type of physical face-to-face lead generation. That could be at a big box store, home. I know we have a lot of clients that do Home Depot. We have a lot of clients that do BJ stores. We have a lot of clients that do different, not just home shows, but also different trade shows or fairs and festivals and things like that. So that's that first piece, the lead capture piece. For those of you that are taking leads, so lead capture is really all about going out and making leads. for people that are taking leads, meaning inbound phone calls off of ads, TV, radio, whatever you're doing, that's that first piece, is what happens when that phone rings, someone picks it up, and what happens there, right? Now, one of two things happens generally from that. Either an appointment is set or an appointment is not set. An appointment is set or an appointment is not set. So if you look at what happens for the customer, right, or at this point really the prospect, because this is before anybody's bought anything. And then the last piece here is the actual in-home demo, the actual in-home demo. So let's look at the question here. What does our customer really want here? What do they really want? Now, you guys, if you want, can jump in and be involved in the chat, and you can give in ideas, all right? Generally, when we do this in workshop format, we're all sitting around a table, and I'm asking the people at the table to come up with these ideas. All right? Because the more of this that you come up with on your own, the easier it's going to be to build it out and to deliver to your customer what they really want, what they really need. Okay? But since we're doing this virtually, I'm going to throw some ideas out at you that you could write down in there. Okay? So I think one of the first things that they are really looking for is, do you respect my home? Do you respect my family? Do you respect me? Do you respect my time? These are not necessarily in any order, okay? Professionalism. So for example, if you're working at a Home Depot, or you are looking at, okay, that's a great one. Timeliness, quick response time, somebody put into the chat, okay? If you are making leads, so if you're doing, again, any type of face-to-face lead generation, what do your people look like? I think last time we talked about cleanliness and how important cleanliness is, but also appearance. What do your people look like? What do they wear? Is anybody monitoring or approving what is worn and what isn't worn? Is there a uniform? Addie or Valerie, sorry to everybody that is.
Yes, I saw Patrick. We'll get him what he's asking for.
Okay, you'll email that to him. Okay, great.
Yeah.
So what, so the customer wants to see, or the prospect wants to see, professionalism, cleanliness, somebody that is there to solve their problem. This is a big piece of it, by the way. When we talk about the phone and the inbound script, and notice I said script, okay? When you think about the inbound on the phone, the most successful businesses, the most successful companies in this industry have a scripted response to when that phone rings from an ad. Generally, those people are immediately connected with somebody that can help them. They don't go through dial this number for sales, dial this number for that. No, they go directly to a human being, a friendly human being, somebody that is professional on the phone, somebody that doesn't think that the person on the other end is a nuisance. Part of that scripting needs to be that, yes, we'll help you solve that problem, right? And generally the way that we do it in scripting, and the way we used to do it at my companies was whatever somebody said, the first thing we would say is, well, I can help you with that. Okay. So sometimes, like if you sell windows, this amazes me. So a lot of companies will get a lead and somebody will say that they have a broken window or their window's not working. And it's obviously what they're looking for in the mind of the person that took the call is they're just looking for a repair. They're not looking for new windows. And so what they'll do is they'll push them off and say, well, we don't do that. But how do you know what the real problem is? They're telling you this, that I have a broken this, or my window's not working. But if you immediately jump to, well, then you need somebody that's not us, have you helped them solve the problem? By the way, you may have just thrown away a really good lead too. So they want, let's see, they want punctuality. They want you to be on time. Again, when you're talking about the in-home demo, when your salesperson goes out, they want all of these things, don't they? They want professionalism. They want a solution to their problem. They want people to be on time. They want respect for the home. You know, a big piece here too, when thinking about the in-home demo is education. How much education are you providing to your prospects? A big part of, and I think a lot of you know this, that I work with my buddy John Anglis, and he provides training, sales training, and he actually builds presentations for companies, sales presentations. And a big part of his presentations are education, because education is also a way that you not only show people that, hey, I can help you solve your problem and I've got your best needs in mind, but it's also showing them, hey, I'm a trusted advisor because I'm going to help you make the decision that's best for you. But also, education helps build value. Now, by the way, every single thing that we're talking about here builds value, builds value. The more respect you have for somebody in their home, the better you are at showing up on time. Obviously, your price is going to be higher, and that's okay because you're delivering value. There is a value to punctuality. There's a value to professionalism. There's a value to having a solution to their problem. There's a value to education. So these things work hand in hand because, as you know, I am not about being a low-priced provider. I want all of you to be the highest price, if not the highest price, pretty damn close, or whatever price you need to be so you have a minimum 60% gross margin and a minimum 15% net profit. All of this stuff is related. I hope you guys can see all of that and how, you know, people think that customer experience and raving fans is only about, well, we just want to be good to our customers. Well, yeah, that's the right thing to do. That's being neighborly. But it's also about making money, which is what we're all in business for, hopefully, is to make money. Oh, don't confuse any of this stuff for not being focused on making money. And by the way, the best way you could serve your customers by having the right profit margin, because when they need you, you're going to be there. Okay? So those are some of the things that they're looking for here at the beginning. So what are the things that you could do to make sure that at every interaction point, your customer can't help but say, wow, these people are so professional. Wow, these people really have my best interest. Wow, these people are so clean. Wow, these people are so organized. Okay? So I'm going to throw a few things at you. Again, this is something that you have to develop for your own business. But again, these businesses are all very, very similar. So we could take and borrow from each other. So when we look at lead capture, let's start all the way over there, and I'll just give you a few things you can think about there. So lead capture, again, what do your people look like? What about hygiene? Are they required to shave? Are they required to brush their teeth? Are they required to wear a certain uniform that looks a certain way? Is that monitored? What type of shoes do they wear? Are their shoes clean? What about belts? Every person in your company should have a uniform. Any person, let me back up a second. Any person that's forward facing with a customer should have a uniform. So your lead capture people, shows, events, whatever it is, uniform. Salespeople, uniform. Service people, uniform. Installers, uniform. Foreman, uniform. Project managers, whatever you call them. All of these people should have a uniform. So uniforms, I tell this story a lot, and I wish I went digging for pictures and I just could not find one. I know they exist, I just don't know where. But at Handyman Network, which was my company before doing consulting and starting G4, Steve lived in our lobby. Steve was a full-size mannequin, store mannequin, male mannequin, and he was dressed 24 hours a day, 7 days a week in our accepted company uniform. Now, in our case, the handymen were the salespeople, the service people, and in some cases, even the foremen. So they all had the exact same uniform. This is what was accepted. This is what was not acceptable. We were very clear on it. And so that's something to think about and to look at. Phone, inbound. Is there a direct line to the people from an ad, from TV? Those companies that do TV, more than likely they're going to a call center. And more than likely, every call is being monitored. Every call is being listened to. Scripting is being listened for to make sure that scripting is being executed properly. And they're looking at the number of appointments issued, set versus not set. The key here is the professionalism of the person on the phone. Again, do they have a script? Is part of that script, yes, we can help you with that. Let's look at when you set an appointment. What happens? What happens after an appointment is set? So think about all of these things from your customer's point of view, okay? I just called a company that I saw on TV, let's say, or I saw in an ad. Don't know where I called, don't know who I called. I looked at their website, I saw some stuff on their website. I looked at their reviews, they seemed to be okay. I called this company, set an appointment, they're coming out tomorrow or the next day. Now what? Now what? This is a great opportunity for you to show up with an email and introduce them to the sales rep who's going to be coming out to the house. Here's what you could do to prepare for the house. Now, again, we're in April 2020. I think some things are going to change over the next few months. Depending on when you see this, those changes may already be in place. So currently, there's a lot of talk about how are we going to keep you safe? Meaning, how are we not going to spread disease? I have a feeling that even if you're looking at this next year, it's still going to be an issue. And so wouldn't it be helpful? Wouldn't it be professional? Wouldn't it be respectful to immediately fire off an email to people with a picture of, here's the sales rep that's going to come to your home. Here's a little bit about who they are. And here's all of the precautions that we're going to take. And here's how you can get ready for our appointment. You want to take that to another level? How about having a video of the owner that they can play? You know, maybe it's a page that goes back to your website, but it's a page only people that set an appointment can see, where it's the owner saying, thank you so much for calling ABC company. My name is, and here's what we're all about, and thank you so much. We appreciate you. We're going to come to your home. We're going to do this and this and that. Short video, minute, 2 minutes, but just putting people at ease, showing people we care about you, we respect you, and here's everything that we're going to do to earn your business. Not everything, but here are a few things that we're going to do. You know, you're not just going to come straight out and say that, okay? That's a whole nother level of professionalism, right? Another thing you could do is send them a text with a link to that little video, or you can send them a text with a link to the video of the salesperson. Now, generally what you don't want to do, by the way, as a note here, what you generally don't want to do, and I know some of our clients still do this, is you do not want the salesperson to contact that prospect until the day of the appointment, until the day they get there and they're knocking on the door. That's their first interaction with that prospect or with that customer. So now you've got appointment set, you've sent out an email. Most of you probably are doing confirmation calls. I'm calling to confirm, not remind you, to confirm your appointment, blah, 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 right? Most of you have a script for that. And then now it's time for the in-home demo. This is going to be the first real test. And this was interesting. You know, I tell the story about the handyman business that we created, and where we really focused our effort and our energy was on how the handyman showed up and presented himself. And we had a whole process and system for this, step by step. And so I'll share some of those things with you because they apply exactly to your business too. So we would issue the lead, if you will, using the language of this business, your business, roofing, window siding, one-day bath. We would issue the lead. And they were instructed to be there a few minutes before. We would tell them 10 minutes before appointment time. And we gave people a window. We said we will be there between, I think it was a 2-hour window, just say between 10 o'clock and 12 o'clock, and we'll let you know when he's on his way. This was, by the way, before text messaging and before the big use of email like it is now. So all of this for us was done on the phone. But the guy would show up. He had some paperwork that had to be filled out. So we would tell him, when you get there, sit in your car, get the paperwork filled out. And then what we had a binder that had his paperwork in it. We had booties, the shoe covers, and a business card. Now, mind you, the guy was in uniform. He had a lanyard with his picture on it with, I forgot all of the information that was on it. I can share that information with anybody. I still have it. But it was basically, to say, hey, this guy is legit. Every lanyard, by the way, had an expiration date on it. So we redid these things often because, those guys were a little transient. And so we wanted to make sure that nobody was out representing us negatively. And so the guy would show up at the door with his binder, with his booties, and with a business card. Okay? And we would knock on the door. And then the guy was instructed to take a big step back away from the door. Why? Because we didn't want this big imposing person when somebody opens the door. Addie is 5'1", 2, 5'2". Okay. So, somebody 6 foot is at the door and they're standing right up at the door, could be intimidating. So we wanted them to be back to where when Addie opens the door, she sees all of them, who they are. And then they had to wait until they were invited in. And then when they were invited in, before they stepped foot into the home, they had to stop and put on the booties to walk into the house. Now, a lot of times people would say, oh no, that's not necessary. We'd walk in and it's a tile floor or hardwood or, some sort of hard surface. And, some of the guys would say funny things like, no, my mom brought me up right. And she taught me to always be respectful of other people's homes. So if you don't mind, I'm going to keep the booties on. Come up with language for your people. There's only a finite number. When we were writing scripting, just by the way, I agonized over scripting for years because the volume of calls that we would get, that little difference of a point or two in appointment set rates had a huge ripple effect through the course of months, quarters, and year. And so we agonized over scripting, and we looked at every, interaction to see how could we improve on the scripting so we could set more appointments. Well, it's the same kind of thing, or the thing that we discovered was that there was only a finite number of questions that people were going to ask when they called in. There was only a finite number of things that people were going to say when we got to the door. And so what we would do is make sure and catalog those things and then come up with scripting to respond to those things. I mean, and when I say a finite number, you're talking about a handful of things. Those maybe, I forgot what the exact number was, but it was maybe 3 to 5 things that people would say when we picked up the phone, right? 3 to 5 things. So how much do you charge for this? Okay. Then they go into this script. The next thing they would say is this. Do you guys do this? Next thing they would say this. I mean, there was like 3 to 5, I don't remember exactly what it was. Same thing with your business too, by the way. Finite number of things, just a handful of things that people are going to say. So understand what those things are, anticipate them ahead of time, and have your people be prepared. Okay, the more you can help your people, the better. The other thing about the demo, so Addie makes fun of me, but a lot. I was 6'2" when I met her, and now it's 22 years later, and I'm 5'8".
Yeah.
See,
I think the opposite. You were 5'8" when I met you, and now you're like 6'2".
Yeah. So she makes fun of me because I'm so perceptive. I pick up on the dumbest little things. I look at people's shoes. I look at how they put their clothes together. And so when we were doing uniforms, and whenever I meet with people in these workshops, we talk about little things about uniforms that make a difference. For example, this was kind of funny, but when we did one of these a couple of years back, I was talking about those guys that, and no offense to anybody that's out there, I know this is a common thing with men, but those guys that wear the t-shirt that goes all the way up, the collared t-shirt that comes all the way up here, and then they wear like a polo shirt over it, or a button shirt like this over it. To me, that is an area where you could find trouble. And here's why, okay? And then this is what's amazing about Disney, okay? So I'm not crazy, because great companies like Disney obsess over dumb little things like I do, okay? So think about this for a minute. So those t-shirts, and I love t-shirts, okay? Those t-shirts, when they go into the wash, the structure of those t-shirts could change. So when you first put it on, and I'm gonna go through this with you just so you guys, just to get you thinking about how important the little details are, okay? The collar, which was once perfectly white and perfectly like whatever that thickness is, over time can stretch, tear, change shape. The color of the shirt could change. The fit of the shirt can change. And underneath now, it could start to look sloppy. And it's right there. You can't miss it. It's right there. So my suggestion is, if somebody's going to wear a polo shirt and they want to wear a tank top, or they want to wear a t-shirt underneath, wear a t-shirt that does not show. You still get the effect of the t-shirt, but the sloppiness of it, you have a good chance of it not hurting the impression that the person is making. Same thing with their shirts, their uniform shirts. How are they buttoned? How are they tucked in? Do they wear a belt? Do they not wear a belt? If they wear a belt, what does it look like? What do their pants look like? So most people that are sending out salespeople, the uniform is probably khakis and a polo shirt, right? So what does that look like? What do the shoes look like? Okay. What about hygiene? So this was a huge thing that we did with our guys. It started with the car. So we said to them, when you roll up to a house, you are now on stage. Remember in the first part, we were talking about Disney and how there's on stage, front stage, and there's backstage. Well, when you show up in the neighborhood, you are on stage. Now, it's a whole nother conversation, even if they're going around in wrapped vehicles. Now they're on stage the minute they get in the car, they are on stage, right? So they roll up to the house. Anything and everything they do at this point is being seen by other people. At least you have to assume it's being seen by other people. For a lot of people, older people, especially my parents, my father sits in his living room looking out his front window, okay? He does this for hours a day, okay? That's like TV for him. He sees the world going by, sees what's happening in the neighborhood, who's coming in, who's going out, okay? Now, he's not a busybody. He doesn't go talk to these people. He doesn't make any comments or anything, but he still sees what's going on. And so you have to assume that when your people show up there, that they're being looked at, that they're being judged. So the worst thing they can do is get out of the car and flick a cigarette, or spit out their gum, or spit, or adjust themselves. Come up with all, these were the things that we trained our people on, right? Not only did we teach them how to sell in the house, but we also taught them how to show up to the house. So you got to think about all of these things when you're thinking about customer experience. And if this makes a 1 point difference in your close rate, 1 point, think about what a difference that makes throughout the year. And think about the reviews. Think about the referrals. Think about people wanting to do business with you again. So that is the whole before unit. This is before anybody even becomes a customer, before they've given you money, before they've signed a contract. All right? Any questions about this section? All right. So you should have a list of things here on the left. Get with your team, talk to them. This is what people want. This is what we currently do. How can we get it so that our customers can't help but say, wow, what are the first actions we're going to take, and who's going to be responsible for making this happen? By the way, at the end of this, I'm going to show you a tool. It's in your book. I'm going to show you a tool that'll help you build out a process. That'll help you build out a process for all of this. It's the same tool that I used really to build a franchise company, okay? I'll show you how to use that at the end. All right, so some things to think about here. How's your phone answered? How is your prospect or customer made to feel? What is the goal of the initial call? Goal of the initial call is to set an appointment, okay? Who is answering your phone? Are you using a script? Okay. By the way, not sure how many of you have your phones being answered early in the morning and late into the night. I strongly recommend that if there are any holes in your day, if you're a smaller company and you've got a hole in your day where somebody live is not answering the phone, you need a good answering service. Generally, answering services kind of suck. I used them, so many of them throughout the years. But these guys, Ruby receptionists, they're awesome. I have a bunch of clients that use them and they love them. So this is a resource for you. I think they'll answer your phone up until like 9 o'clock at night. As late as you can go and have your phones answered, you'll be amazed at what you are missing by not having your phones answered after. A lot of people stop answering their phones at like 4:30. Well, people aren't getting home until 6:30, 7. And so you want to be prepared. And it's not a whole lot of money. In fact, if you want to use our code, you could just go to callruby.com/G4, G-F-O-U-R. By the way, we should put this resource into the book for them and make it available to them. You don't have to use our code. I think we get a referral fee. I think we do. But regardless, you guys will get money off your first month with them to try them out. So I strongly recommend them. Appointment set, what happens when we set the appointment? Is there an appointment confirmation? Do you use some sort of welcome kit? So one of the things we talked about, using email or maybe using a text message, letting them know, hey, here, here's who your salesperson is. Here's what we're going to do when we get there. Here's how to prepare for the appointment. That's all really good if you're setting appointments for tomorrow or the next day. But what if you're booked out for a week? What if you're booked out for more than a week? What are you going to do in between that time to keep them excited and engaged? And so I always recommend putting together some sort of welcome kit. And if this is something that you're interested in, we could talk about this. Just reach out to us and we can give you some ideas of what you can do. But basically, it's taking everything that would be in an email that you send out, but transform that into a physical mail package that you send out every day. If you are booking appointments for more than 48 hours in the future, I would strongly recommend looking into some sort of package that is mailed out today so they get it tomorrow. Worst case, they get it the following day, okay? Because chances are good that they may call somebody else and that somebody else will get out there faster than you. And now you've got issues. And then, ultimately too, is how are you pre-positioning your salesperson for success? So a lot of this is before they show up, how are you going to pre-position them for success? And then we talked a lot about this. Is there a uniform for salespeople? There should be a dress code. is technology use. So when walking in the door, one of the things that we always talk about is if you are using, like on John's system, they use iPads. What do they walk in with? iPad, booties, and a business card. Okay, modern day version of what we used to do. That's it. You don't want to walk in with a sample case. You don't want to walk in with all of your window samples, because you don't know what you're there for yet. And what is it going to do automatically when the prospect sees you carrying all this stuff in? They're going to be like, oh crap, they're here to sell me something, and their guard is going to go up. Instead, you want to show up as their trusted advisor, all right? And their trusted advisor comes in to diagnose the problem first, then present solutions. One of the other things too is, as we go into between the first unit, if you will, and now the second unit, now they have become a customer, is how do you say thank you to people that bought or people that didn't buy? So this is a really cool sample. This is from Aries Roofing. This was a couple years ago. They do a lot of metal roofing, and so they have a sheet metal shop. And one of their guys was taking scrap metal, cutting it into these little, I think it's about that big, and he would stamp them with words. And so Matthew reached out to me and said, hey, can we start putting these little metal things into the thank you boxes? And we talked about it a little bit, and I said, you know, Matthew, there's already so much in that box. Why don't we take these, and immediately after somebody signs a contract, why don't we send those out as a pre-thank you, like a thank you for signing the contract? And that's what this looks like. So they send out, it goes out in a little envelope, and it's got a great little message. In life, there are a lot of things to be thankful for. Here at Aries Roofing, we are thankful for you. Thank you for your business. Simple, nice, beautiful little gift, right? They say thank you. So here, you know, that's if the job is sold. What happens if the job isn't sold? You'll notice here the next piece of this is wait time. And you've noticed that I made that long. I did that purposely because typically that's not tomorrow. That's a week, 2 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks later. And so what do we do to fill that time? And then the final piece of this unit is the install. Okay? So back here, same question. What does your customer really want here? Let's assume they've become a customer. They have signed a contract. They've given you a deposit. What do they want? So they want some of the same things, obviously, as before, right? Respect, punctuality, professionalism. What else do they want here? Big thing that they want here is communication. They want good communication. They want you to be on time. So if you say, so a lot of companies will send out somebody to measure the job before everything is ordered, right? And so if you tell people, hey, we're going to be here at such and such time, you better be there at such and such time, right? People want that. They're busy. They want flexibility. They want to make sure that, you know, hey, when I need you to come out, what works for my schedule is what's going to work for your schedule. And by the way, when they sign a contract and they give you a deposit, what is a big thing that they want? They want the project done. like tomorrow, right? So you want to keep that in mind. How are you going to keep them engaged and excited over the time between when they've signed the contract and given you a deposit and the job is actually installed? They want to be cared for. I came up with this acronym, GAS, G-A-S. They want to know what? That you give a shit, right? And so that's where kind of the thank you comes in, acknowledging the fact that they just signed a contract with you. They want a level of security. They want to know that the people that are going to be coming to their home are good people. They're screened. We used to do background checks on our people. I don't know how many of you do background checks on your people. I would think most of you, if not all of you. But do you let your customers know that that's something that you do? By the way, if it is, you got to let people know. Hey, this is what we do to ensure that the person that's coming to your home is safe. Oh, we do background checks at G4. So two other things that they want. One is they want quality. They want a quality job. Actually, three things. They want a clean job. They want the job to be clean. They don't want you to come in and make a mess. One of the things that we used to say to people is that we're going to leave your home cleaner than we found it. Okay? Because we knew that going into somebody's house, you could leave a mess behind. Well, who the hell wants to have somebody come into their home, do a service for them, and then they have to go and clean up after them? Nobody wants that. So cleanliness is important. Of course, quality of work is important. And I think another big one is, they want to get more than what they paid for. Now, they might not necessarily tell you this, but it's just, to me, it's just good business practice to always deliver more than what people paid for. Now, this goes back to price. If you're charging the right price, you can always deliver more. So all of you spend money to send your customers gifts, to say thank you. Right? The right thing to do. Now, aside from the fact that it's the right thing to do, and it's got a whole bunch of benefits for you on the back end, if you aren't profitable enough, you can't do that. And so profitability here is key. And every bit of value that you add, even though, a lot of people will say, well, everybody does that. Everybody might do that. But not everybody talks about it. Not everybody explains it in a way where a customer will understand it. Not everybody educates a customer on the right way to do something and the wrong way to do something. All of those things add value and perceived value. Okay, so those are my notes on what people want here, okay? They want someone they can, ultimately, this is about trust and this is about confidence. Okay? People aren't gonna buy from you if they don't trust you. And they're not gonna buy from you if they're not confident that you're gonna do what you said you were gonna do. So, I showed you an example of what to do when a job is sold. A little thank you. How about just a thank you card? So one of the things that I recommend all the time is go to or go online and go to one of the big office stores or actually whoever that sells blank thank you cards. Blank thank you cards. and order these for each of your sales reps. And start off, you could start off with blank ones, or if you want, you can order them with your logo, but start off simple. Write two messages. One message is for if the job is sold and a contract is written. The second message is if the job is not sold. Put stamps on all, so if you buy a pack of, let's say, 50 of these thank you cards, put 50 stamps on the envelopes. You do it, or have somebody in the office, not you, but somebody in the office do this for the salespeople. Because why? They won't do it themselves. If there's any salespeople on the call, I'm sorry, but you know you won't. A lot of you are babies, and you're not going to do it, okay? But we're going to show you how to make more money, and hopefully you like money, okay? So the other part of this is we're going to do this stuff for you. I'm sorry, but I love beating up on salespeople. I'm a salesperson. I'm a fucking baby. So, I'm with you. And there's a lot of things I don't do, okay? So as the owner of the company, as the person that's running this company, if you want to get this done, follow my suggestions, okay? Put a stamp on every envelope, and then on the back, on the flap, on the envelope flap, just stamp it with your return address, okay? Stamp every one of these and give them to your salespeople in a package of 50 with 2 notes. Here's what to say when they buy. Here's what to write when they don't buy, okay? And then what the salesperson does is when they come back to their car after they have run their appointment, they sit in the car and they write a simple note, okay? Dear John and Mary, thank you so much for having me into your home. I'm really excited to be working with you. Blah, 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 whatever you want to say. If you need anything from me, here's my business card. Here's my phone number. Call me. Something like that. And then what they do is they put that into the envelope, address it real quick, and as they're leaving the neighborhood, don't put it into their mailbox. No, go and find a USPS mailbox and drop it in there. Or, not a better idea, but bring it back to the office and have it go out in that day's mail. It's critical it goes out. If it's at night, it's got to go out the next morning, okay? But it goes out in that next day's mail, okay? So that it shows up at the house right away. If the job is not sold, same deal, different message. Thank you so much for the opportunity. We would like the opportunity to earn your business, something like that. I'll be calling to follow up, but whatever. Come up with whatever your follow up is. I can't do it here right now on the fly, but if you want to send me something to look at, we're happy to look at it and edit it for you. But just come up with 2 short little messages that they handwrite in the car. I don't care what their handwriting looks like. They're going to tell you where I have terrible handwriting. I don't care. Doesn't matter. It's the thought that counts, okay? So they write it out, address it, drop that one in the envelope. Do you think that's going to help your rehash efforts? Do you think that that's going to help maybe get a few people back? Yes, it will. So sold, not sold. Now, the next thing we got to think about is the in-between time. What happens between the sale and install? So a lot of times what happens is nothing. You call the people, we have the contract, you're going to be scheduled 6 weeks out, we'll call you when we're ready. And then the customer doesn't hear anything for 6 weeks, and then the day before they get a phone call that says, hey, we're going to come out tomorrow and tear off your roof and put a new one on. Or we're going to tear out your bathroom and put in a new one. How is that a good experience? My suggestion has always been very simple. I think that every single week, that customer needs to be communicated with. every single week. And it's a simple phone call. Simple phone call. And the phone call is, hey, this is Brian from ABC Company. I just want to let you know everything is still on track with your project. If you need anything at all, feel free to call me at the office at such and such number. Even if you have to leave a message, okay? But you've reached out and you've been in touch, okay? Some people will use email, some people will use text messaging. I still prefer, you can do those things, but I still prefer the phone call. It shows them that you really care. It shows them that you made the effort to pick up the phone and call them. All right, so that's the wait time. And this is a critical time, critical, okay? If you lose any sense of trust here, if you lose any bit of confidence here, forget reviews and forget referrals. They're gonna go down, okay? This part is key. Now, let's think about on-site, install. Do you go inside the house? If you go inside the house, how do you prepare your people for going in the house? How do you prepare the house? Do you have scripting? Do you have rules? This is allowed, this is not allowed. Same thing with outside, by the way. How do you keep the job site clean? How do your people show up on day one for the job? Who knocks on the door and says, hi, Mr. Jones, or hi, Mrs. Jones, we're here? Remember what I said about scripting. So I always think about this guy down here, okay? This guy down here. What if a neighbor is coming by and sees your guy outside and asks him, hey, what's going on here? What does this guy say? What does this guy do?
What guy?
I know what a lot of you are thinking right now. What is it? What does he say?
What did you say? What guy? I just
this guy down here next to the wow. You see him carrying
Yes, okay,
the
barely.
underlayment? What does he say, Addie? I say, hey, what's going on here? What does this guy say?
Hopefully, he says,
No,
hi,
not
ma'am.
hopefully. No, not hopefully. What does he say?
I'm with Mr. Roofing, and we're here installing a brand new roof on your neighbor's house.
Right. But what are a lot of the people thinking right now? They're thinking that this guy says, no habla inglés.
Okay, yes.
Right?
Where you're going, yes.
Mind you, people, that's an excuse that you are making. And it's not a good one. Not a good one. You have to be prepared for that. How do you prepare your people for that? So one of the ways to do it is you got to teach that person either how to say, give me a minute, or please come with me. Okay? So give me a minute is, I'm going to go get the foreman, or I'm going to go get somebody that can answer your question. By the way, this goes for either a neighbor or the homeowner. Okay? Or it's come with me, and that safely they take the neighbor or the homeowner to the foreman that speaks English. But you have the process for it. Now, what if there is no foreman on the job? What if there's nobody that speaks English on the job? Now what? Well, then now you got to give him a little card or something that he can pull out of his pocket and give to them and say, I'm sorry, my English is not very good, but if you have any questions, please call this number. And it goes directly to a cell phone of somebody that can answer that person's question. Details. You got to think about all of these little details. Job site. How do you ensure that the job site is kept clean? How do you ensure that crap's not blowing into the neighbors' yards? Part of the reason why, before we were talking about when your salesperson pulls up, when your installers pull up in front of the house, that now they are on stage. Well, they're on stage because who are your prospects for your next job? Aren't the prospects all living all around this customer, right? And if you're not going to do anything, if you're going to ignore all of those people and you don't care about their business, then do whatever the hell you want to do. Most people just go in and they have tunnel vision. They see one house and they say, one house, we got to do this house, tear off this roof and put another one on, and then we're out of here. I want to see 10 houses. I want to see 20 houses. We're on stage. We have an opportunity to show off, to show them how good we are, to show them how clean and organized and professional we are, right? We are on stage. So we have to look on stage. These people need to look the part. They need to act the part. And that means that they have to be able to respond to anybody that may come by, because anybody that comes by may be an opportunity for more work. And with the homeowner, it's an opportunity for reviews, referrals, and repeat business. Okay? And then cleanup, of course, cleanup is cleanup. You got to make sure that the place is clean. Anybody have any comments about this piece of it? To me, the in-home sales presentation is very intimate because it's one person sitting at the kitchen table across from Mr. and Mrs. Jones, dealing with the family in a very closed space. Important, critical piece of this puzzle. But then the installers spend more time at the house typically than the salesperson did. There's typically more of them. There's typically a lot more noise and commotion and interaction. And a lot of people just kind of like let this piece just happen. And they figure, well, as long as we get the job done, we're okay. Technically, that is true. But if you want to deliver a wow experience, you have to think about all of these parts and pieces. And then finally, and I am looking at the clock, and again, this is the piece that we do for you. That's a great idea. Have incentives for your installers. James just came back. Yeah. So the big thing here is to really think about when that job is completed. What are we doing to say thank you? What are we doing to get reviews, referrals, keep in touch? Now, obviously, with us, you're going to get us the name and we're going to send them a thank you on your behalf. We're going to ask for reviews. We're going to introduce them to the referral rewards program, and we're going to keep in touch, and keep in touch with them. But this doesn't mean that you guys can't also get involved in this. For example, do you have any type of service work? What happens with punch lists? What happens if you have to go back and repair something or fix something? What about asking people for reviews, like face-to-face? Does anybody go and visit the job site on the day of install or shortly thereafter? And we do trainings. Addie does trainings every quarter, a great training on this piece of it, on how to set up for referrals, how to use some Jedi mind tricks to set people up for referrals, and how to ask for referrals and when is the right time. So I'm not going to go into all of that now. Sorry, I just saw a message in the chat. There are things that you still can do during this piece. Like, for example, one silly little thing that you could do is make an outbound phone call. We call it a happy call. So every day, one of the first things that our service managers would do is they would call behind every job that was completed the day before. And they would do what we would call a happy call. Were the guys on time? Were they professional? Were they clean? Today, this was before we had, reviews and stuff. Today, I would add something to, I would add a question like, is there any reason why you wouldn't give us a 5-star review on Google? Is there any reason why you wouldn't give us a 5-star review on Google? And listen. And if they say no, great. You're going to get an email any day now asking you to do that. And I would really appreciate it if you would. If you have any problems, if you have any issues with that, please let me know. One of the other things that you can do, and this is really simple, and I've seen some companies do this, is you can have a point person. So every job has, yes, a foreman, but it may have an internal person that, hey, this is your person to contact, or this is the hotline. So you could go straight in to our company without having to go through the receptionist, the front desk, and wait on hold. This is the straight line through, the hotline. These are some ideas, just some things that people, that people have done. So Addie, I'm looking at the clock. It is almost 3:30. Well, for those of you, anybody that's watching this later, it could be any time for you, but it's been about 90 minutes. So at this point, I will say two things. One is, as a G4 client, we appreciate you and we will do anything around any of this stuff to help you. And so if you need our help, our opinion, our advice, our editing, please don't hesitate to reach out and let us know how we can help you execute your version of the ultimate customer experience. If anybody's got any questions, just put them into the chat. I'll be happy to answer any questions. But if not, just know that we are your partner. We are here to help you shine. So you look good, you look amazing to your customer, that we're making sure that they know that they are appreciated and loved by the company, that you appreciate referrals, that you reward referrals, and that you are going to continually be keeping in touch with them. By the way, one of the very first messages that goes out, if you haven't seen it, is a welcome to the family message. Welcome to the family. And there's a line in there about how now that the job is done, it doesn't mean that we're going to go away. We're going to stay in touch with you. That's the gist of it. It's written much more elegantly than that, but that's the gist of it, is that now that the job is done doesn't mean we're done. It means now we're just getting started and we're going to be here for you. All right. So same thing with all of you. However we can help you, let us know. And with that, if there are no questions, there are a lot of people here. I can hang out for a minute. All right, y'all. So that is it. I hope you enjoyed this version of the Customer Experience Workshop. If you want to do this live with me, just look out for, we do offer this once or twice a year as a live workshop. I'd love to have you in the live workshop as well. But that is it. Let us know how we can help. Thank you again, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye, everyone.